Shalom. First and foremost, all praise and glory is unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Harachach double honor to our apostles, the bishops, the elders of the great millstone. Greetings, salutations, blessing, much love unto you elect. Shalom unto you. You brush across with a video, and I'm going to entitle this or be along the lines of the mark of the beast was not Cain's mark. Okay? And we know where this stems from and it comes from. We see all the wild ideas of what the mark is according to the IUIC. You know, it's anything but the RFID NFC microchip. Okay? It's anything but that according to the IUIC. And when you watch, you know, if you've been following over the last decade or more, and you watch to see what the IUIC says it is, it's anything but what Great Millstone says, which is the micro C-hip implant. Okay? And no matter how deep we go into the Greek and the roots of the words in the Greek, so on and so forth, it's always something else. So one of their things was, it's the mark of Cain, which is sin. Well, I'm going to go through what Cain's mark was. You know, and they say it's spiritual and it's sin and it's all of this, right? But ChatGPT, you ask ChatGPT some simple things, and of course we understand it had to ChatGPT had to been programmed. It's only going to give you so much, but it can reason, you know, better than some of the unreasonable people. Okay, so I asked it, was Cain's mark physical, or what did it look like from the KJV? All right. I asked some other questions, which I'll get to those. It says, the Bible, specifically the King James Version, does not describe, shouldn't have asked the KJV, but anyway, the mark of Cain in detail, neither its appearance or whether it was physical or symbolic. And actually, it was both. Okay. Now, to expound, give me a minute and I'll get to that, Lord willing. All right. But we know for a fact, or we through faith we believe, because we wasn't there, but we know it was a physical mark. Okay. And so here's the verse here, which I'll get later in the blue letter, but it says, Genesis chapter 4, verse 15, and the Lord said unto Cain, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any should find him, lest any finding him should kill him. Right? Now it says key points. KJV says a mark upon Cain, which implies something visible or distinguishable, but it does not specify what the mark was. Okay. Now when I came down and asked another question, and it goes into all these other things, interpretations, which I didn't give a lot in that. But then I asked, could Cain's mark be leprosy? Okay. And the reason I brought I'll read it. It says here, the idea that Cain's mark could have been leprosy is not a mainstream or widely supported interpretation, biblically or theologically. Yeah, it says, but let's explore the reasoning behind why someone might suggest it and why it's generally rejected. Now, why they might say it, why some might suggest leprosy. Visible and distinctive. Leprosy in the Bible is a visible skin condition that could act as a mark. Stigma and separation. Leprosy often resulted in social separation, which might parallel Cain's curse of becoming a fugitive and wanderer. Right? Judgment from the Most High. In some biblical stories, like Miriam in Numbers, the 12th chapter, leprosy is used as a divine punishment. All right? And so I'm going to go to those and read those for you, because that's where my mind went, right? Which we should already know what happened with Cain and Abel. Cain's offering wasn't righteous, so to be in a nutshell, so he got jealous when he saw it wasn't accepted of the Most High, And so he rose up and slew Abel. Okay. So I'll start at verse 12. I'll read it in NLT. It says, "No longer will the ground yield good crops for you." And that's funny because even today, the earth doesn't yield fruit like it once did in the ancient times. There were times where the earth would yield amazing sized fruit. But there's no land Sabbath. None of the laws of the earth, of the ground, are being kept by the rulers thereof. Okay? Which we know Edomites rule it. And through faith, we believe Cain, the serpent unto Cain, unto Esau, okay, unto Edom, all the way down to the people that are ruling today, starting at the time of the Greeks, all the way through the Roman Empire and then the rebirth of the Roman Empire. We believe those are all Edomites coming from that same spirit, which goes all the way to the spirit way back of the serpent, the devil, the playing that physical counterpart, okay, in the earth today, which we believe are so-called white people, man. But not just because your skin is white, because the spirit in you is similar to the people in the Bible, okay? Same type of spirit on you. You don't have a righteous spirit in you, okay? And we know 2/3 of our people don't either, So it's a tough distinguishing thing. It's hard to they've done a great job at jumbling the people where you're not sure who's who. Well, one of the marks is the physical mark, though, okay? So I'm gonna try to go through this, and Lord willing, it's edifying, right? It says, no matter how hard you work, from now on you will be a homeless wanderer of the earth. And then you read it in the KJV, which I like how it says it. "When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength." You're never going to get the full strength. Now, I believe it's in Numbers, maybe 35, something like that, when they were talking, was it 30? I forgot which chapter in Numbers. It's not 35, but I forgot what chapter. When it's talking about a cluster of grapes had to be carried between two men. Okay? That's how big a cluster of grapes were. All right, not this little great seedless grape thing that you see in the earth today. Okay? It says a fugitive and a vagabond, with vagabond as a wanderer, shall thou be in the earth. Okay, it says back in the NLT, "And Cain replied to the Lord, Yahweh, my punishment is too great for me to bear. You have banished me from the land and from your presence. You have made me a homeless wanderer. Anyone who finds me will kill me." Okay. It will slay me, right? It says, "And the Lord said, No, for I will give a 7-fold punishment to anyone who kills you." Then the Lord put a mark on Cain to warn anyone who might try to kill him. Okay. Yep, it says, "So Cain left the Lord's presence and settled in the land of Nod, east of Eden." Okay. Now, when this directly connects me right to this chapter here. It connects me right to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 6 and 7, right? And up and down. But it says, and this is in the NLT, and you know what is holding him back, for he can be revealed only when his time comes. And see, we can't touch him, and that's why this white man seems untouchable. Okay, we can't touch this guy. It's not his time. Because even when you get down to who can take this man out of power, it says in Isaiah the 63rd chapter that who is this with dyed garments coming from Bosra? We know Bosra was a city in Edom, and only Yahushua could take him down. It says, "For vengeance is mine, I will repay." We don't get to put hands on him without Yahushua getting first blood, so to speak. Okay? So he can only be revealed when his time comes. So that mark of protection, and when you read what the scholars say, and AI overview and all that says, it was saying that it was a protection, right? And true. and it protected him to the end time that because man, the world would have, because if you look at the people of the world, everybody is brown, a shade of brown, except the leprous man, whose skin is translucent and his blood shows forth through his skin. Okay, and there's even he's even mingled his seed with other nations to try to get some pigment back. And a lot of times it's the darkest nations he likes to, try to find that pigment with. But anyway, it says, for this lawlessness is already at work secretly, and it will remain secret until the one who is holding it back steps out of the way, which is the Most High, will allow this to happen. And we're close to that time now, where the curses will turn and Yahushua will come to take this man out of power. Okay? It said, and then the man of lawlessness will be revealed. It said, and that wicked, capital W, will be revealed, right, in the KJV. But the Lord Yahushua will kill him with the breath of his mouth and destroy him by the splendor of his coming. And we know when you go into the war in heaven, in 2nd Esdras, the 13th chapter, it breaks it down. Okay, he ain't going to have to touch anything. He's going to do it with the fire out of his mouth. Okay, when he comes into glory, which is the chariots and his all power. Okay, with the angelic force and body. Okay, which that's another lesson. I don't want to jump that deep into it, but hey, that explains. If you go into lessons that break that down, which we've done lessons on that. There's even lessons on my page with it. This page that this should be uploaded on with that. Okay, but going back in Genesis 4, we're going to look up that word mark. Okay. Cain on in Mark, right? Mark of Cain. Cain sevenfold, okay. A mark. A wath. Okay. It says in the sense of appearing. Okay, it says a sign, signal, a distinguishing mark, banner, resemblance, miraculous sign, omen, which it's an omen. That same mark on him is an omen of punishments to come. We'll get to Miriam, but more so of Esau. Okay. Token, ensign, standard, miracle, proof, warning. Okay, and that's that warning. And look, red is. let me see what it says if I look that word. What color is associated with warning? Okay, it says in safety signage, orange generally represents a warning, indicating a potential hazard that could lead to serious or injury or death if not avoided. Orange is used for situations where the risk isn't as immediate as a danger situation, but still warrants caution. Let's see here. Red signifies danger and is used for immediate and grave hazards like fire protection equipment, emergency stop buttons, and flammable materials. That was the one I was going for. Okay. Different colors at that. But red was the one I was thinking of. Red signs warning about fire, danger, and emergencies. Okay. Telling, it's just a universal color. But anyway. Represents warning. Warning is like orange. I should have said danger. Not warning, but danger. Let's see. Look, the color red is universally recognized to represent danger or the need to stop. It's used in safety signs, stop signs, and fire-related equipment to immediately alert people to potential hazard. Red in safety. In safety context, red signifies danger, need to stop, or the presence of fire-related equipment. Psychology of red. Red is known as an attention-grabbing color, and its association with blood, fire, and danger has led to its widespread use as a warning color. Okay? So that's the color the Most High gave E. All right? And that was the mark he gave Cain. And that was what he did with Miriam. Right? Let's go to Miriam. Before I go further, I almost forgot. It says the Strong's definition a wath in the sense of appearing, right? A sign, literally or figuratively, as a flag, beacon, monument, omen, prodigy, evidence, mark, miracle, ensign, token. Okay, it was a sign not to mess with him, a sign of danger around this man. Okay, because I jumped ahead unto Thessalonians, you can see the preservation was for this time now. That the fullness of his existence will be there, because there's no other species that look like this man, especially a human species, okay, that looks like this man. Okay? This is the only red man walking around. Then, the flood came and wiped everybody out. Then it started all over again with dark-skinned people through Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, right? Japheth, whatever you want to call it. And then through Shem, all the way down the line, to Jacob and Esau. Okay? Of course, through Abraham and Isaac as well, but just cutting to the chase. And Esau was just born with, I'm going to get to it. Let me go to that before I go to Miriam. Bear with me. And this is that same way. Okay? This is why this is important. And a lot of people, man, you ask people that know the Bible, that read the Bible, that claim to study the Bible, theologians and scholars, they'll see this clearly and they'll still act like they don't recognize it or don't want to accept that. And it's usually a lot of Edomites. Okay, but even Jake and other nations won't fully acknowledge the traits by process of elimination. Who would be Esau, Edom today, right? But Genesis 25 verse 23. This is in the NLT, which the KJV is on the left. You want to read along, but it says, "And the Lord told her," talking about Rebecca, the two sons. Let me make sure that you see it's Rebecca, right? Rebecca, right? It says, "The Lord told her, the sons in your womb will become two nations. From the very beginning, the two nations will be rivals. One nation will be stronger than the other, and the older son will serve the younger son." Okay? And when you look at how close and why they're the two main characters in the world today, is Jacob and Esau, the Negroes in the so-called whites, the blacks versus the whites. Okay, the whites and the Caucasians. The Negroes, what do they call them? They call them Caucasoid, Negroids and the Caucasoids. Anyway, it says, two manner of people shall be separated. And that's also talking about the nature of the people within them. Anyway, back in the NLT, it says, "And it came to pass when the time came to give birth, Rebekah discovered that she had indeed have twins. The first one was very red at birth and covered with thick hair like a fur coat, so they named him Esau." Okay, I'm just reading it what it says, right? Esau. And when we get into the word Esau, I'll get it in the KJV what that word Esau means. Red. Adamonai. Adamonai. Yeah, anyway. Adam. It's not Adam. Adawam is what it should be. Adawam. Okay. Red, ruddy. See, they have gone back through this and changed up some things. Okay. 119. Adam, right? Anyway, that's the red ruddy of Esau as infant. Okay. See, reddish of the hair or the complexion, red ruddy. Okay, Genesis 25, of course. Here Esau, yeah, they tried to liken David as ruddy as well. That's not what it's talking about. It's talking about his flesh. Because when you get into this, it shows you back in it says, "Then the other twin 26. Then the other twin was born with his hand grasping Esau's heel, so they named him Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when the twins were born. Why didn't they talk about the color of this one? Okay. But then they called, let's go to his name. They called his name Edom. Where is that at? Right there. It says it right there in 30. It says, Esau said to Jacob, I am starved. Give me some of that red stew, the bloody stew. This is how Esau got his other name, Edom, which means red. Let's go to KJV for the word Edom. All right. Red. Adom, right? The other was, Esau was, there's a different one for Esau. What is this? Aisha. Okay. It's original. Aisha. Harry. Okay. There's all these twins. And they like to cover up all these different definitions of Esau because they don't want you to know directly who he is, progenitor of the Arab people. That's bullshit. Okay. So you know they're bold-faced lying. Esau. Okay. Original sense handling rough. Son of Isaac, including his posterity. See how they do it. You got to understand through the spirit, then you can bounce whether it's Chat GPT or the blue letter off of what the spirit's telling us. We know the spirit through process of elimination. The only man that this can be on the planet is Esau, man. Esau is the end of the world and Jacob the beginning thereof. So if he's about to go down, we know that we got to be the ones that's coming up. You know, you start getting in Deuteronomy, if they want to try to take out Deuteronomy 28:68, all these things add up when you start putting the pieces together. All right? Let's go back. Yeah, different word for the name. Esau right there, red. Probably saying that and faint. Okay. Edom. 123. Adam. It's the same Hebrew with different phonic points, right? Edom, right? So it goes back to 122. We just saw that. Red. Edom, Idumean, which we know Idumean is a way to say it in Greek. Edom in Greek. Descendants of Esau, land of Edom, Idumea, land in southeast of Palestine. Okay, Edomite red. Elder twin brother of Jacob, hence the region Idumea occupied by him. Edom, Edomites, Idumea. Okay. All right, show that right there. All right. So it's showing you that his mark was red, which that's the same mark. Leprosy. Let me see. All right. Now I put what color does leprosy appear, right? Leprosy can manifest as skin lesions that are either pale or reddish. These patches may differ in color from the surrounding skin and can be numb to the touch. In addition to the skin patches, leprosy can also cause thickened skin, nodules, and loss of sensation. Elaborate skin patches, numbness, other symptoms. It says patches on the skin are a hallmark of leprosy and can be either lighter than the surrounding skin, hypopigmented, or reddened. Okay, thickened skin nodules, small lumps. Okay, those other symptoms, advanced symptoms. Blindness. Okay, so it told you right there, it was pale or red, which those are the two colors associated with the Edomites, man, with so-called white people today, is white and red. Okay, they get embarrassed. What color do they turn? The back of their neck turns what? You just get into these things, you can see it. Okay, you can just see it. It's the accepted, terms and identifiers of people, like dark skin, big lips, and so and wide noses, and for Jake, nappy hair. All this is for Jake. Okay, it's no different. Okay, Numbers 12. We're gonna go to Miriam, right? But when you go down, I think it's like. Bear with me a second while it's like 10. Yeah. Okay. Start at verse 9, Numbers 12 and 9. And the anger of the Lord Yahweh was kindled against them, and he departed. In the NLT it says the Lord Yahweh was very angry with them, and he departed. As the cloud moved from above the tabernacle, there stood Miriam, her skin as white as snow from leprosy, or with a skin disease. The Hebrew word used here can describe various skin diseases. Okay, but it in the KJV, and the cloud departed from off the tabernacle, and behold, Miriam became leprous, white as snow. And Aaron looked on Miriam, and behold, she was leprous. Let's see what that goes into. Get down to it. She was leprous. Tazariah. Primitive root. To be diseased of skin, be leprous. To be a leper, to have leprosy. Leprous. Okay. To scourge. Okay, root was to scourge. To be stricken with leprosy, leprous. Okay. Be struck with leprosy. Apply the disease, hence. All right, which we went into that already. Let's see if there's anything else deeper in there. Regarded as being sent by God, as of course it really was. Since there was, and it's the same mark, so she marked, so it can be derived that implied that she was marked like Cain was marked. Okay, so it brings us back to that. Like I read, judgment from the Most High. In some biblical stories, like Miriam in Numbers 12, leprosy is used as a divine punishment. Right, could act as a mark. Now I went down. What was that I asked also? Oh, the unlikely part. Yeah, okay, sure. But then I asked, do Edomites have leprosy? Who were the Edomites? The Edomites were descendants of Esau, the brother of Jacob. Genesis 36, they go into their history there. Region called Edom, relative to the Israelites. Edomites and leprosy. Nothing directly links Edomites to leprosy. Okay, let's get down to where that might have come from. Miriam, Uzziah, never Edomites specifically. Okay. Because if it was specific, it wouldn't be the same high-level puzzle, but through extrapolation, we can see it, right? It says some later or fringe traditions, especially from the non-biblical sources, have tried to link skin conditions or racialized stories to biblical groups, including Edomites, but these interpretations were not biblical. They often reflect historical bias and racist ideologies, especially from post-biblical. Modern biblical scholarships reject these associations. Let's see if there's anything else. That was something I saw. Yep. There's another one. Yeah. Well, that's the point there. So let's go to mark of Cain. Okay, mysterious sign of a divine protection. Okay, yeah. All right. We're in Exodus 20, and I'm gonna come down to what Cain did, right? Which we know what he did. He murdered Abel. Okay. Exodus 20 verse 13, thou shalt not kill. But in the NLT it says you must not murder, because that's what it actually means. It means to murder. I'll even go show you, because killing and murdering is not the same thing. Okay, thou shalt not kill, right? Ra'ah. It says to murder, slay, kill. Okay, and that's what he did. Premeditated, accidental, as avenger, slayer. To be slain, to murder, assassinate, murder, assassinate, assassin, to be killed. Slayer, kill, murder, manslayer, death, slayer. Okay, all words that are used for this. All the negative senses, okay? Not as in redemption or defending yourself, right? To break, dash in pieces. We get the point. Okay. Like kill many, to act the homicide. All right, which is good enough point. So we know that Cain was matter of fact. Yahweh said it. John 8:44. Ye are, in the NLT, for you are the children of your father the devil, and you love to do to do the evil things he does. He was a murderer from the beginning. He has always hated the truth, because there is no truth in him. When he lies, it is consistent with his character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And we know that went all the way back to Genesis, the 3rd chapter, and then turn around Genesis, the 4th chapter. The serpent was that liar and a murderer, okay, because he brought upon death. Fed the lie, thou shalt not surely die, but Eve ate it and she did die, and so did Adam. Ate it also and died, okay? Then the next chapter, they brought the offering with Cain and Abel, and he rose up and slayed, murdered Abel, okay? So it's referring to all the way back, and then the character goes all the way, and even now there's dark-skinned, people, Israelites, people that have the spirit of Israel, of Jacob on them, okay? They do the same thing. Now they've taken on his identity, okay? And that's what this is referring to. But let's go. So we know that this ties in all the way forward down, okay? That our people have picked up that same energy, and that's why when you go into Thessalonians, it's talking about that, okay? It brings that man up all the way even in today's times, okay? And the father of it, okay? I remember my point being, all this sinning has been going on, because I read that in Genesis. We know Exodus, the 20th chapter, all those that were listed were sins, okay? So if all this sinning has been going on, how can sin be the mark of the beast? Okay? When I got Romans, let me grab it. It's right there, Romans, the 3rd chapter, the 23rd verse. Okay? Look, I read 20. For no one can ever be made right. This is an NLT. For no one can ever be made right with the Most High by doing what the law commands. The law simply shows us how sinful we are. Okay? But now the Most High has shown us a way to be made right with him without keeping the requirements of the law, as was promised in the writings of Moses and the prophets long ago. What's that? It's by faith. We are made right with the Most High by placing our faith in Yahweh Shai Mashiach. And this is true for everyone who believes, no matter who we are. For everyone has sinned. We all fall short of God's glorious standard. Okay, so if everyone sinned, everybody already had the mark of the beast. So who gets salvation, according to IUIC? You see why that don't make sense? Okay? So who gets salvation? If we keeping, well, you got to keep the laws. Well, the law, I just read, we can't keep the law perfectly. So how can we get salvation? Because keeping the law is going to give you a greater chance, but keeping it through faith, because it's not about keeping it by perfection. Okay? It's by keeping it through faith. Okay? And really, you have to have been chosen from the beginning. Okay? To receive that salvation ultimately. But those people through faith are gonna do the works accordingly to be made to receive salvation. Revelation chapter 3 verse 10. I would like to throw this in here when I bring this up. Talking about the MOT to the B. Because you have is the NLT. Because you have obeyed my command to persevere, I will protect you from the great time of testing, the hour of temptation, that will come upon the whole world to test those who belong to this world. And we know if you're connected to this world, man, you're gonna go down with this world, because that's gonna be what tempts you away from the Father. Okay, from righteousness. I gotta go to this one, Revelation 13:15, NLT. He was permitted, talking about the beast. Okay, was permitted to give life to his statue. And see, it's not statue, it's an image. And when you go into the images, let me go over here, see if they got it right. Image. Let's go to the word life real quick. Pneuma, which is breath or breathe, is going to get you back to that word. Okay. Third person, Holy Spirit. Personality and character. And the beast's image reflects his image, his personality and character. Okay. If I have the work and power. Okay. The spirit. The spirit, the vital principle by which the body is animated. The rational spirit, the power by which the human being feels, thinks, decides. Spirit, a simple essence devoid of all, or at least the grosser matter, and possessed of the power of knowing, desiring, deciding, and acting. A life-giving spirit. And this gave life unto this technocracy, and to this way of life, and to this beast mode of living. Higher than men, but lower than the Most High. Used of demons or evil spirits who were conceived as inhabiting the bodies of men. Spiritual nature. Let's see. The efficient source of any power, affection, emotion, desire, movement of the air. A gentle blast of the wind, hence the wind itself. Breath of nostril or mouth. So the same breath of life that was breathed in the Adam is Esau, or Esau. Well, is the beast trying to breathe, which we know the head of the beast are Edomites. Okay, so it still is Esau, but the beast has a system that they're giving life unto, that they're trying to breathe life unto, and they're going to give you back life, and that's part of the temptation. Okay, by giving you back life when they take everything from you. And Nathaniel, when you go into what he talks about, he acknowledges some parts. He has truth in some of the things he says, but then when he has to put his finger on what is it, what one thing is it, he's all over the place. He has 3, 4, 5 different fingers on different things of what he says it is. Okay? I.e. breath. Okay? Analogy or figuratively, a spirit, the human rationale, soul, mental disposition, a vital principle, mental disposition, the mind. So it gives real life and living quality to this thing. Okay, I want to go into that image, icon, icon, right? Image, figure, likeness, image of things, use of the morals, likeness of renewed men to God, right? But what about bringing them over to the beast? When seen applied to man on account of his power of command, okay? He can give life that way. To Hamashiach on account of his divine nature and absolute moral excellence. And we know this is the opposite of that. Okay? Literal statue, profile, or figurative representation, resemblance. All right? But it's a model how people should live on the earth. Okay? Of the beast that both should speak. I want to look at the word speak. It says utter a voice to emit sound. The tongue faculty of speech, talk, utter, to use words in order to declare one's mind and disclose one's thoughts. And when you think about it, that's what it's going to do. They have the thought police in this. Your actions are going to be proven. They're going to be able to, anything you do is going to be marked. It's going to be traced. Okay. It says, utter words, preach, say, speak, tell, talk, utter. Okay. Which is good enough. The beast called as many. Let's go back. Life to the image that it could speak. Right. Then the image, it's a statue of the beast, commanded that anyone refusing to worship it must die. And he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead. And we go into this all the time. Let's go into it now. Let's go into that word mark. We know what the Greek word is there, charagma. All right? And that's not talking about nations. This is talking about nations, slave nations. Okay, sure. Free and bond. Okay, to receive a mark. And how does a nation have a mark in their hand? Now, they try to explain that, but come on now, 5480, charagma. Okay, a stamp and imprinted mark. It's in your forehead. It's what you think. Your mind is there, right? That's what they try to say. Thing carved, scripture, graven work. Oh, well, the mark of Caesar, it was on the coin, right? And he said, well, how can that buy or sell? Well, how could it just be a credit? I got that in my car. I got that in. Look, if you sinning, and by your means, you're already sinning, and there's nobody to be saved by IUIC standard of what the mark is. Because he ultimately knows if I set my cell phone down and my wallet down with my credit cards or the chips that are in my card, I set that stuff down, I can walk around without those things and not be traced on the planet. But that's not what he wants to do. But when you go to the deeper root, Karax, through the idea of scratching a pale or stake or palisade, rampart, something that you cut in between. Now, if you scratch in between is what it's talking about, right? Between the earth, stones, trees, the timbers heaped and packed together. Trench, carasso. Okay, idea of scratching a stake, i.e. by implication, a palisade or rampart, military mound for circumvallation in a siege, trench. Okay, but when you go up high, even to the deeper, we know this one is grapho, which to write. So it's embedded. So this is written on your spirit, written in your mind. You're thinking it. No, this is something that they're going to have all your information of buying and selling. Okay, inside a grain-sized micro C-hip. I've been saying it the whole time. Okay, implanted into your body. Okay, and it's going to have your ID card, your birth certificate, your what's the other thing? Your social security, your blood type, your bank statement information, all of these things, credit history. We even say the social credit score. All that's going to be on there. Okay. It's writing all this information in that thing that'll be etched entrenched inside of your body through a stake or palisade. Okay? And if you can't see it, you can't see it. But what we know it's not is the mark that Cain had. All right? So I'm ended there, man. That was pretty much the point. Because and then the question that I wanted to ask also was, hey, how you going to tell us that the mark is sin, but people can be sinned? But you sinning already. How you going to tell us that the mark is sin, but you already sinning? When you go to the 20th chapter, right? So how, if we all fall short of the glory, how does it say this? Revelation 20:4 in the NLT, then I saw thrones, and the people that sat on them had been given the authority to judge. And I saw the souls of those who had been beheaded for the testimony about Yahushua and for proclaiming the word of the Most High Yahweh. They had not worshipped the beast nor his statue, nor accepted his mark on their forehead or in their hands. Because they was keeping the law. They was keeping the commandments. No. We all fall short and have sinned. For transgression of the law, sin is the transgression. Let me grab it just to be real with you. I got two last scriptures. 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresses also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Hebrews 10:11 in the NLT. Under the old covenant, the priest stands and ministers before the altar day after day, offering the same sacrifices again and again, which can never take away sins. But our high priest, speaking of Yahushua, offered himself to the Most High as a single sacrifice for sins, good for all time. Then he sat down in the place of honor at the Most High's right hand. There he waits until his enemies are humbled and made a footstool under his feet. Right? For by that one offering, and that's talking about he's the one that's going to take the world, okay, come and bring them into power, referring back to that Isaiah the 63rd chapter. All right, when the Most High gives him to go take this man down, these Edomites down, right? Not by our hand. Anyway, it says, for by that one offering he forever made perfect those who are being made holy. And the Holy Spirit also testifies that this is so, for he says, this is the covenant that I will make with my people on that day, says the Lord. I will put my laws in their hearts and I will write them in their minds. Then he says, I will never remember their sins and lawless deeds. And when sins have been forgiven, there is no need to offer any more sacrifices. Yeah, that was the point. Okay. Let me read this one in 22. Let us go right into the presence of the Most High with sincere hearts, fully trusting him. That's with faith. For our guilty consciences have been sprinkled with Hamashiach's blood to make us clean away from sin. And our bodies have been washed with pure water. Okay? So that's what we're made clean, not by the working of the law, because all have sinned. So we can't. So that doesn't make sense. If how are we supposed to get salvation from that? How are they supposed to deny sin in the last moment in the hour of temptation? If it doesn't make sense. It has to be a specific thing that we have to be tempted with. Okay, buying and selling, and all that goes with that, to make it make sense that we deny it, even to death. Okay, because we're already made alive through the blood of Yahushua under this grace period. Okay, and then the elect are cleansed from those sins. Okay, so they never explain that in between part. Okay, so Lord, what it is that I find, I'm in it there, giving all praise and glory to Yahweh. Until the next one, Shalom.